Hello and welcome to Sporting Jibberish. There's nothing wrong with your sound, you just have to speak very quietly because Jack's hanging at the moment. He's suffering with a bad head. Isn't that correct, Jack?
Correct, Stuart. Hi, I'm Jallo from Sporting Jibberish.
Oh, you're feeling a little bit better now. You look a little bit better still than I saw you probably about 8 o'clock this morning.
Bad way, mate. Team building it was.
On a school night.
Team building.
Yeah. Seemed like a good idea, didn't it?
Well, you never learned there. I'll blame Rob coaching.
Just one more.
Just one more.
Just one
Do
more.
we have one more? Let's have one more.
Yeah. And this is the final product of just one more. Okay, it's
I've got my initial on my cup.
You have, yeah. I just pop that on and have the old S on stew there.
SJ, there we go. Wonderful.
Always works. Right, moving on swiftly and quickly before Jack starts to feel sick. While he's got a bit of energy in his,
Let's go. I'm up
his
for
body.
it now.
We're going to be talking Newcastle because what else is there to do at the moment?
The
Because
tune.
they are the talk of the tune.
They've been linked with everybody, including you, I heard.
Well, we'll come to that in a second. We're going to be looking at Premier League and our own little group that we do, and interesting stories amongst that. England and the FA Cup, the World Cup qualifying, which thankfully is over.
Yeah, she's happy.
Ready to move on. Tyson Fury just had a little bit of it. I think he had a boxing fight at some point this week. I'm not sure if it happened or not. I think he's just fighting Wilder or somebody. We'll have a little look at fancy football winners and getting ready for, well, not even winners because there wasn't anything last week, but we do have Larkin back ready for this weekend.
See what he's going.
And we're going to start with our sporting week. So last weekend, another fixture for the Mighty Wanderers.
Another W.
Another win.
3 on the boots.
Is it 3 on the bounce now?
Yeah.
Wowzers, you are flying, my friend.
We're going alright. We're going alright at the moment.
And decent scoring as well for you?
Yeah, 48 off 30 balls.
Do you get, right, just a quick question because I always want to know this, is if I get a penalty in a game and it's towards the end of the game and it's quite a close game, you're obviously going to get nervous. When you get to the scores like 48, 49, do you then think about, oh my goodness, I've got to get to that 50?
No, because a lot of the time, particularly over here, there's no individual score on the scoreboard, so you don't really know, and I'm not a counter. Some people do count the runs. I'm not a counter, so I've got no idea. Now, people would say you must do, Jack, because I must have the most 40s in anybody's career ever. But no, I don't. Even like back home in the Premier League, most of the scoreboards would have you score from top from 0 to whatever, however long you're batting. But yeah, never really, not in the 40s. In the 90s, when it's been up there, you get a bit, because that's a massive milestone.
Yeah.
But not really, no. It was just one big shot too many at the weekend, that was all. But name of the game.
But who did you play?
Who did we play? Desert Kings, who had, they had lost all the games, obviously lost another one, but they brought in some, not ringers, but they brought in some players from a different team higher up to try and beat us, and didn't work, did it?
Beautiful. So that's 3 games left in the group?
3 games left in the group.
Against potentially the 3 toughest opponents?
I think so, yeah. So this week we play Saturday night in Ashman against Titans, who are currently top. They've got 1 extra bonus point than us, and they're always a good side. Then we've got Masters Blue, who I think are 3rd or 4th in the minute, and then Exile, the last group game, who are 5th, I think. So
that is, it's all set up nicely for that game on 31st of October, isn't it? 30th of October, for it to be
bit of a winner-takes-all to get to the playoffs, yeah.
That team doesn't get any better than that. We've all sorted. Larko's got his banner. I've got my flares. We are going, and we're not talking about jeans either. So it should be interesting.
Yeah, good. And of course, the way this league works at the minute, unless they change it, which they could do, but at the minute, you then go to the playoffs, you then take, so the top 4 go into like another mini league, if you like, and you take the points you got against them in there. So that's where it's vital to get.
So just on interest then, how are Valley Boys still doing?
So they are there or thereabouts.
So you can do with Valley Boys dropping out, really.
Yeah.
Because obviously you picked them.
Yeah, exactly. So we got. So I would say there's probably 4 from 5. Us, Valley Boys, Titans, Masters Blue, and Exiles. So we've obviously, of those 5, we've only played 1 at the moment, and we lost. So yeah, but we'll see. We're going alright. We've got a good side again Saturday night. See what happens.
And you got the second team up and running there. Had a run out as well.
Yeah, they had a game on Friday evening. in Ashman again, different league, like just a mini one. Obviously, we're just trying that out a little bit, and it was a bit of a scramble to get 11 out. In all honesty, but we got there, and then they had a loss, but they'd find that I think who did they play? Royal Stars, I think they're called. So they got 200. They were apparently a reasonable side. They got 200 for 6 or 7, and we came 20 odd runs short. So it was a good effort. Everybody got a game, which is more important.
I think that's it, isn't it? It's making sure everybody's ticking along nicely.
Yeah. So and they play again Friday night as well. So we've got two games as well this weekend. So all going all right at the moment.
Good luck the Wanderers this weekend.
And what about you? I mean, you're in a bit of a 2 and 8 as well, aren't you? Not drinking juice.
No, far from it. I've managed to play. Well, I say 2 games. The idea was I was supposed to train on Sunday, and I thought I could do with a bit more sharpness. So I put my name down for training on Sunday, but it turns out we didn't have enough, so I ended up playing for the third team. Played the Romanians, who are a really good outfit, and they actually beat us every time I played them in 7-a-side.
Yeah.
I played the first half. I was only supposed to play one half and then come off. I ended up playing 60-65 minutes because we had a few injuries. When I left the pitch, it was 4-0 up. By the time the game finished 5-2, so great result for the third team. And then last night we played the Redbacks, who got pummeled 7-0 opening game of the season against the FC, and unfortunately we drew 0-0.
No, we told me this morning, like 0-0. It's a very unusual scoreline in any football now.
Yeah, but when we said this, we're like, I don't recall being involved in many 0-0s throughout my whole career.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of the last 0-0 I saw in Big Game. You just not think of the past, but it's certainly unusual now.
Yeah, and the funny thing is that the video on it will appear on our YouTube page at some point, and the chances we missed or the blocks, it was just unbelievable. And probably the worst one was they stopped me. I was playing centre back for the duration, and then at 80th minute, I think Gaffer just decided let's go one more push and stuck me up front. And within a couple of minutes, the ball comes to me and I roll the centre half, get past the next centre half, and I'm at a really bad angle. So the keeper's kind of come out and I pulled it square, and it's gone probably halfway between the penalty spot and the 6-yard box. And the lads run onto it, and Jerry, who's run onto it, has got a sweet left foot. He's run onto it and he blazed it over. And you're just like, it just needed anything on target was going in. And I need to watch the video, but I'm pretty sure it's gone like 5 to 10 yards over it.
On its way to LA.
Yeah, I don't think we use that ball again. But yeah, I think for us, for them, it was a great result because they're drawn against All Stars, current league champions, and you know what? They grafted, they worked hard, they put their bodies on the line, and the amount of block shots that they put away, keepers made a few good saves. But I think the disappointing thing is we did score, but the referee disallowed it for. He claims that he said that we sandwiched the players, that 3 of them jumped up for a header, and he's saying sandwiched them, but I just thought it was a little bit of a soft one because if anything, the centre forward that won the header, as he followed through, he took both our other player out and their player, and they kind of like everybody just kind of came together. And Sam's a big lad, so our 2 lads end up our lad ended up on the floor, their lad ended up on the floor, and the ball was in the back of the net. So it was a bit disappointing, but still unbeaten in 48 games. But it's just a shame that I think our 27 wins in a row has now come to an end. But you know what, it was never going to last forever. But I think the aim now is let's get to 50. But the disappointing thing, I think, from the club's point of view, is that I don't think we performed that badly. We're just a little bit unlucky, and with a bit more composure, I think we would have.
I mean, you can't say this but I'm going to call the Gaffer out a little bit here. You've got a top goal scorer. I'm not saying it because you sat here, mate, and you're mate. You got a top goal scorer in the league, in all the stuff you played last year. Sat at playing at centre half, and in a 0-0 game, 10 minutes up the top's not really long enough to do anything.
Yeah, and I think we had a quick chat after the game, and I think I did say that I could have done with a bit more time because nothing actually fell for me. I set up a couple of chances, but I never actually got an opportunity to get a strike off. But I don't know, at the same time is that we were so sure at the back, and if anybody watched the highlights, me and JC were looking likely, dead bizarrely, from centre back, more likely to create a chance because we were coming forward with the ball. So maybe just thought that maybe that delayed run might result in something, and there was one in the first half. I picked it up, I've gone past somebody, I played it into somebody, I carried my run. And if he just returns it, I am through on the goalie. he shoots and gets tipped over. But I'm sure you can probably hear me having a little hissy fit here and there where the ball just doesn't quite land for me. But I think people say, it was said last night, I'm not fully agreeing to this of we could have still been playing now, we've not scored, but I'm not a big fan of that saying. But it's not the world's worst result.
Still on me, again.
We're not out of the league, we're still going to play the top of the league, so we'll see what happens next. But moving swiftly on, Newcastle has been the talk of the Toon
Army
for the last couple of weeks. We kind of brushed over it last week a little bit about what was going on. Everything's finally in place. I'm ready to talk to you today about what do they do moving forward. So, obviously, I wanted to point out, and people may or may not be aware of this stat, but Steve Bruce, since he's been in charge of Newcastle, has been given zero money to spend, no adaptations to the squad. It's basically you're coaching the team that you had, and points-wise has performed slightly better than Rafa Benitez with regards to how he's given. And Rafa was given a little bit of money, so he's been given no backing whatsoever. And you could argue that he's probably outperformed, even if it's level points. You'd say he's outperformed Benitez because he's managed to get that. But the Newcastle fans are just itching to get him out of the club. And I just don't understand it. Is it because he's English? Is it because he was a Man United player? He's actually a Geordie.
Newcastle boy.
So I just don't understand it, and I just think that it's going to happen. He's just sitting there waiting for the phone call, the email, the knock on the door that says, "Can you pop up to the director's office or the chairman's office?" And they're going to say, "Thank you very much, we'll see you later." Why is he not being given any type of? And let's be honest, no matter all this money that comes in, if they're not in the Premiership next year, what a disaster.
Yeah, exactly. It is interesting. I think it's just because he's, like you say, he's not that fashionable. And I think, obviously I'm not a Newcastle fan or anything, the only thing I think sometimes when I've watched Newcastle over since he's been there is there's been certain games where he clearly doesn't think they can win the game. And even at home, and even against, and I'm not talking necessarily against the big six or whatever, where I think, surely you're a better side than that. Surely you can go for that. But I actually think on the whole he's done okay there. My issue is as well, and we'll probably move into that, is that, they've had this big take, all this money now, but they can't just buy 15 new players and a new manager like overnight. There's got to be some sort of transition, and I think Manchester City proved that. It wasn't an overnight success. It took a bit of, their big marquee signing, Robinho, was it, when they first did nothing, did it?
No.
Did absolutely nothing really on the whole.
Yeah, well, I'm going to refer to Man City in a minute about what they did, but it'd be interesting. But my next question to you is: do they replace the manager first, or do they go for the infrastructure?
I think obviously there's obviously something structurally wrong, and I think also they're talking about, like, apparently the ground's in a bit of a state, as is the training ground or training facilities. So. But clearly, the amount of money they've got, that's not going to be a big deal. But I would have thought that they need to secure the fact that they're Premier League next year. I think that's definitely, obviously, a priority. So they've got to decide how are they going to do that. Well, it looks like they're going to say change the manager. I probably wouldn't. I would probably keep a bit of continuity and allow them to add some players in January.
Yeah,
that will then, leapfrog them maybe into mid-table or something, and then have a look thereafter, and while at the same time trying to get the structure of the club correct. But they won't do that, will they?
Well, no, there's a real strong story talking about them appointing a director of football first. Right. And looking at the German guy, his name is Ralf Rangnick.
Yeah, Spurs are linked with them.
Yeah, and there's lots of stories about Ralf. So obviously he's known for being within the German football area. And one interesting article I did read was that if they brought Ralf Rangnick in, he would basically be director of football, and he would almost be the manager in regards to what players they're going to bring in, because the structure that he's done. I think Hoffenheim was one of them, Schalke as well.
He's at Leipzig.
He's at Leipzig. He's currently at Lokomotiv Moscow as head of sports development there. But what he did with the structure of them, from being nothing teams, then being into the Bundesliga and establish themselves, is second to none. So he knows how to restructure a club and bring in fresh ideas. And like you said, Spurs were linked with him. Man United were after him at one point. but they think that the reason he didn't go to Man United was that nobody was quite confident enough to go, yeah, do this, because they're worried about their own jobs.
Yeah.
That if he brought in and he just went, there's no need for you, there's no need for you, there's no need for you, and then basically overhauled it, which is what Newcastle need.
Oh, without
and if anything, if there's a club that potentially could do an overhaul and they've got so much potential behind them, would be Newcastle, because the following is unbelievable up there. So they talk about Ralph Ragnick coming in, and then this is an interesting one, is that Ralph obviously restructures the whole club, sorts the club out, puts it in his stamp and says, this is what we're going to do, and then appoints an up-and-coming good coach that then can work with the players.
Right, okay.
So then this name got thrown out.
Go on, Gerard.
Graham Potter.
So, yeah.
So he's talking about a manager that has worked with players that not quite of brilliant ilk, that got the team playing well, that looks defensively strong and still play a lot of good football and do well beyond the means.
Yeah.
That if he came in for even for a short term until they then started to buy the big players, that wouldn't be the worst case scenario for Newcastle. But unfortunately for Graham Potter, you're not a long term signing.
Nah.
You are literally getting them to maybe 18 months whilst they restructure. And then the article then talks about, and then I listened to a little bit of Charlie Adam talking about it, and then somebody else talking about it, was that they then started comparing it to Man City. Obviously, the big signing we all know about was Robinho.
Yeah.
Never quite hit the ground running. But then it was the next set of signings that City bought. So they bought Premiership stalwarts that were then to secure the team. You know, they brought in David Silva, they brought in this player and that player, but they bought Julian Lescott.
Yeah.
And they bought in Gareth Barry.
Yeah.
Just for that stability, that understand the Premiership, that would then help them settle in these flair players, explain to them what it's all about, get them settled. So they're talking about things like that. So then I've heard that they're looking at Tarkowski from Burnley.
Yeah.
That he's potentially in the league. James Ward-Prowse might be one that they may also look at, as well as Calvin Phillips.
Yeah.
So you're looking at their battle-hardened players that understand the Premiership.
English, because they're like
English, and they understand it. But then the little bit of genius that I absolutely love and I think is brilliant is that there's a video going around about Griezmann and Mbappe.
Yeah.
And it's an old video, and they're playing Champ Manager, or playing Football Manager. And Griezmann turns around to Mbappe and goes, "Oh, you just signed for Newcastle." And Mbappe's like, "Oh no, it's so cold." So they're on about that. You know, like, people won't want to go to Newcastle simply because of that. But Newcastle, or the new board and whatever that lady's called, that's organised it. They've appointed Kevin Keegan and Alan Shearer as their ambassadors, and that they are to be involved in any negotiations with any players. So when you go and speak to the club, you're going to be met by Kevin Keegan and Alan Shearer, who in the world of football are
massive,
like elite level players that were top of the game, and their job is to sell the club, sell the fans, sell the football, and stuff like that. So I thought that was a pretty clever appointment.
It is, yeah, definitely.
And then we'll see how the structure goes from there. But like you're saying, is if they went for them, is there any other English players potentially out there that they may go for? I know Harry Kane might be mentioned, Raheem Sterling.
Sterling would be a bad, would it?
No.
Kane, I think you mentioned Kane, and obviously a top fan would go, but it'd be a tricky one because, not a tricky one, but you would argue that, because there's no doubt they're going to make some marquee signings in January.
Yeah.
Whoever that, I saw today, Tino Werner was mentioned.
Yes,
like
I've seen that as well.
Maybe even Sterling or whatever. They're going to definitely make some marquee signings. Whoever's a manager, January they're going to make a big statement or two, aren't they? Whoever that might be. So then, the likes, if you like, let's use Kane as an example, come next summer, if a move to City or something doesn't happen, then they'd argue that perhaps they've got more chance of getting in the Champions League the following year than what Spurs might have.
Yeah.
If Spurs haven't got there already. So those kind of players would probably come into the discussions, wouldn't they? And I know that there'll be others, won't there, as well?
Oh yeah, we actually they've been linked with anybody and everybody from this time onwards. But I think for Newcastle, from my viewpoint, would be if you can get the right person in, the director, that can overhaul the system, that can have a look at how the structure is behind the scenes, invest some money into the academy, make the company work because they're going to have to look at financial fair play. They can't just go out there and blitz.
And she's actually said that, hasn't she?
They can't just go out and fire out 500 million because they've got no back to it, so they'll be getting in trouble that way. But I think key English players are going to be forward.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if, for the time being, if Bruce was to go, someone like Potter comes in and gets given 12 months. He may only get 6 months.
Yeah, and that's a big move for him. What does he do? Then if he gets?
But it's one of them. It's like somebody opens the door and says, "Have a go at this for 6 months."
With 500 million to spend.
But I think Ralph Rangnick won't be saying, "Who do you want?" Ralph Rangnick will say, "You're getting this one. You're getting this player. You're getting this player."
Yeah, It'd be interesting, but Newcastle fans, I think, don't expect to have a nice success. No. I think for whatever we've said about Bruce doing this, that, and the other, there's not many players there that would stay in a top 6 squad.
There's only set maximum, I would say.
Callum Wilson
is there, Callum Wilson, but then
as a backup.
But as a backup because he's just so injury prone, and I think the rest of them will be brand newbies. Yeah. But it's interesting. At the same time, it worries me that it's football gone silly. That you've got potentially this guy that's worth
it's 10 times
300 million more than Man City's owner. Makes Roman Abramovich look like a pauper. I just hope that there's some type of restrictions in there that they don't just go out and buy every Tom, Dick and Harry.
And I think that's why the financial fair play is a really good thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it'll ever get to the point, but there's some argument, isn't there? In fact, one of our students is writing about his EPQ is going to be about the pay of like soldiers against footballers. And how, obviously immoral and people believe it is. No, you're never going to get soldiers up there. You're not going to bring football's wages down there. But I think like the British or the English rugby Premiership, where there's a proper wage cap.
Yeah.
I think if we're not careful, I think that needs to come in another football. If we're not careful, we
run the risk of that happening and then everything's spinning out of control because Liverpool have a very strong infrastructure, so they're never going to try and compete, and never have done. So when City have gone out and bought players, Liverpool have just gone, we're not interested. And Arsenal kind of had that philosophy. Yeah. They would never get involved in a bidding war with teams. United do have that, almost that arrogance of going, we're not going to get outbidded by you. Yeah. We'll put more in. And it's teams that have that type of attitude that probably run the risk of doing a Leeds.
Yeah.
And then it all going wrong, and then suddenly they're in a world of trouble.
You've seen that with Derby, even, haven't you, just recently? And that's a backlog of them trying to chase the Premiership again at that level, And that's why, like Spurs, I know Levy gets a bit of stick, and rightly so in some quarters, but you can't argue that as a business model, it's actually decent.
But
to be fair.
It'll be interesting and watch this space, but Newcastle probably, potentially, maybe a top 4, top 6 challenger next year, and then maybe the year after we're looking at potential Premiership winners, maybe. So we will see. Anyway, talk about Premiership.
And they play, I know we're going to sit, but guess who goes to Newcastle on Sunday?
Spurs. Well, you're alright. I'll tell you what, if there was ever a time to get rid of the Newcastle game, it's now. Before they bring the superstars.
True.
But Premiership this weekend is back. Yeehaw! Things are good, and we don't have
Give me a what?
We don't, gonna get a yeehaw. No, it's just for Matt, that. No, it's kind of get a hey ya. Matt Aldridge just found out hey ya videos all over the internet.
What's that song? Hey ya, what was that?
No, it's not that. It's nothing to do with that.
No, I know what it's
about. But Matt's just found them and thinks it's brilliant at the moment. What was his last message? It will never not be funny. So Premiership now is this weekend. I'm saying, is it good time to get rid of Newcastle games before you play that?
Definitely.
But, internationals over. We're done and dusted. Liverpool are away to Watford first game on Saturday.
3 points.
Yeah, but
Ranieri.
If there's anything that we're always a bit fearful of is speed, and Watford have got that in abundance.
And Ranieri first.
Yeah, Ismail Sarr, absolute lightning. Dennis is quite quick out the other side. So it will be a tasty little game, I think, down at Vicarage.
I think it'll be a good atmosphere at lunchtime Saturday.
And then the 6 o'clock games, Villa Wolves.
Black Country Derby.
Yeah. Leicester Man United could be a bit of a tasty one. Just simply because Leicester's linked with, manager's linked with Liverpool, playing Man United. And Leicester have got like a little bit of a history over the last probably 4 or 5 years against United.
They've done alright, haven't they?
They've done alright. Vardy seems to have a good trait against them. City Burnley. Depends what Burnley turn up.
It's
Depends
the year.
on what City turn
It's
up.
the year of the Burnley going down.
That could be an absolute landslide. Could be another 5-6-0. At the same time, it could be 1-1. Can never predict them games. Norwich Brighton. I don't hold any hope for Norwich. If I'm completely honest with you, I think Brighton will maybe just walk away with that one. And then the last 3 o'clock kick-off, which is an interesting one, which brings me on nicely to our little group. Southampton versus Leeds. And I think we have, just on a little side note, I'm going to talk about this in a bit more detail, we have a little 3 group, me, Jack and Matt, and we have a Saturday's prediction competition goes on. And the loser has to buy coffee for the other 2 every week. And I think for the Southampton Leeds game, I think we've got 3 different scores in there. I think one of us has got Southampton to win, one's got a draw, and one's got Leeds to win. So I can't see, I don't know who's going with what.
I think I went for a draw.
I don't know if I went with Leeds win, and I think he might have gone with Southampton.
So he went with a Southampton draw.
Oh, is he going to draw?
You've gone for Leeds win. I've gone for draw as well, actually.
Oh, right, okay.
But 2-2, 2-1, 1-1.
Yeah, a very, very difficult fixture to call. We'll just finish off this and we'll talk about our little betting group in a second. Then the evening game, Brentford versus Chelsea. I think that could be a tasty
Nice
one.
little game.
So it should be good. And it'd be interesting to see how Pontus Jansson does against Big Lukaku.
Is he fit? Because he left the Belgium.
Yeah, I think he should be. Should be okay.
I mean, it's gone a bit quiet, hasn't it? Since I put him in my fancy team, actually.
Yeah, that's the problem. Is every time you put somebody in,
mate,
you should be letting me know who you transfer in, so I can transfer them out.
I've stripped Kayle the captaincy this week.
All right, time to get Kane in. And then Sunday we have 2 games: Everton West Ham, which is a tidy game. Moyes going back to Goodison. And then the mighty Newcastle with their rubbish team will play Spurs
with their
rubbish team as well. So that might be a dull affair to watch. And then we actually have a Monday night game, which is Arsenal versus Crystal Palace.
London derby as well.
Yeah, so some interesting and tasty ties there, which brings us on to what we're talking about with regards to our little group. So we have a group for people back home, as I mentioned. There's 3 of us. Matt picks the predictions, the games, and then we all have to put scores in. 1 point for the correct result. 3 points for the correct score.
Correct.
And then the loser buys coffee for each of the other 2 the following week at work. Which then got us talking on to betting groups. So have you ever been involved in any type of betting groups within your team? Because when we're growing up, betting is a big part of the culture.
Not betting as such, like betting on results or anything like that, but cricket tends to be a card sport. You probably played it on the bus, but cricket tends to be like rain delay, cards come out, and then we went to Woodall a few years back. Well, probably I'm getting on for 10 years ago now. There was lots of cards being played after hours, so to speak. Once the game's finished, a few drinks, and the families disappeared. We'd then play a bit of cards. Brag was the game, so we've played it. Played it, but they'd play. They're very shocking, but they play 3-card brag for money, and there was some big pots in there. They took in one night. My mate won. I think they threw 400 quid. I think in one pot, and that wasn't necessarily massive betting. Like when more often than not, it starts maybe even 10 pence blind and builds up or whatever. But by this point, there were still 4 in, and they all thought they had
the best hand.
And then one dropped out, and he would bluffed his way the high, and then the other 3. I think there was a running flush, a prial, and then FI just had a bigger prial of 3s. I don't think they were 3s actually. What they were, but they were the bigger prial. So that's just 1 hour. So by the time they're probably going 5 a bet. But yeah, so card schools is really the thing in cricket. But yeah, been in a few of them. I would have bet money on that myself at the time, but not betting on sport as such. But yourself?
Yeah, it's very similar. Just card school. So the best one that I had was when I played for AFC Files. We were on the bus back from, I can't think what team it was at. Oh, it was Ramsbottom. Matty Oldridge's neck of the woods. We'd been there, we'd lost in the cuppa on the way back, and everybody gets given the little brown wallet with the envelope. And the goalie was telling us a story that he was at Liverpool as a youth player, and then he was in the reserve team for a couple of seasons. And he was saying that he was in with, was it Dominic Matteo? No, it wasn't Dominic Matteo. It was just
Jay Spearing.
Spearing, yeah. So it was Spearing's squad, and he was in there, and he said that Spearing and somebody else just got on one, and they were playing cards for like thousands of pounds. It got that outrageous.
Wow.
But yeah, on that one, we were playing £1 in, and we were playing something similar. So it was just a case of 3 cards and just turn them in and see who got the best hand and stuff like that. And I remember as we get towards first drop off, we were impressed, and there's quite a few was getting off. Suddenly the card score then starts ramping up to £5 a hand. And I didn't even kick a ball that day. I got paid my £50 for turning up for football, and I walked off with £100 in my back pocket.
Good effort.
So that was a nice little one. I think I won a fair few hands, and then we went to fivers. I think I won the last 2 or 3 hands as we were getting off the bus.
My old man, when he was teaching, but he was living. He before I met my mum, and he was playing football, cricket, and hockey back then in Alford in Lincolnshire. And I think they had a bit of a card school. His mates, but he was fairly serious, I think, in playing the pub back then. And he said one night that he had playing 3-card bag, prole of 3, so the best hand.
They call it the nuts, don't they?
I don't know.
Yeah, if it's called the nuts, if it can't be beaten.
There you go. It was definitely the nuts. And in the end, like this guy who was his mate, or certainly an acquaintance, who was just wouldn't stop. And then I said, "You can't beat me." And he thought, "No, you can't beat me." Apparently, he was to put his car keys in, his house, like his properties. He can't beat me. So they agreed to. Eventually, Dad said, I managed to say, let's just turn him over. I think he saw him in the end. And obviously he won, but won a lot of money. It's like a month's wages he won back in. It used to have been, mid-70s or something like that, but he won like a month's wages in one night. But one hand, not a knife card,
just
one hand.
Yeah. Scary, but it's quickly how it escalates.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Good fun.
Yeah, so quickly scope over the World Cup qualifiers. England, not really much happening this week. Win the Andorra game with what can only be described as a B team. Comfortable 5-0 win. And then draw with Hungary.
Yeah,
a bit disappointing.
Disappointing. I watched the first half, and I went to bed. Then it was disappointing. I think it sounded like the second half pretty much replicated the first half from what Southgate was saying.
Is that a mistake by the manager for playing a scratch team in the first game? Would you not want to be trying to build that continuity and the...
It's funny you say that, because I think just before we started recording, that I actually like the team you picked as attacking, but maybe we're wrong. Maybe the fact of the matter is, whatever level at international football, you do need those two holders,
isn't it?
or Phillips is injured, or whatever, or Henderson for the step. Maybe you just need that for balance, or whatever. Because the first half, as good apparently as Foden was in Andorra, whatever, I thought it was non-existent in the first half, quite frankly. So that's obviously something that you'll have to think about. And I agree with you, particularly. We talked about. I was talking to Renell at work, and he was saying that really, truthfully, it just shows that if Sterling and Kane aren't not at the best, but if they're not quite at it,
they're not firing,
we look pretty toothless. For all the good players that we've got in and around them, we look toothless. And it's clearly that both of them are searching for form. I think it's fair to say. And I think there's a bit of tiredness in there. They've both played a hell of a lot of football, haven't they, over the last 3 years or whatever. And obviously they weren't on it. And like you said, I just wonder that actually, Kayle Sterling did not play. Why has he not played them against Andorra? Even if it was for last half an hour, or started and said, I want an hour from you both, a couple more goals each or something, get the confidence up. But overall disappointing. What I would say, Hungary looked organised, and you watched them a couple of times in Euros, haven't you?
I thought they were very good in Euros. I was surprised the result when we went to Hungary.
Yeah, it was that kind of performance, set up well, wing backs, attacked with pace, and looked dangerous. They still should qualify England. It just stretches it out for one more, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I agree that I think it's good that I think it shows that we've got a lot of depth in terms of, because it basically shows 2 teams, didn't it? There was only John Stones and Foden who played. But the flip side of that, surely at some point you've got to get some momentum, because that's how we've done so well, isn't it? That basically me and you could pick the team. And I would say that's probably one criticism that he did in the Euros, that he probably chopped and changed a little bit too much.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was disappointing, you know, and they'll be fine.
Yeah. Right. The other big talking point was Tyson Fury versus Daytona Wilder in what can only be described as an action-packed boxing fight. I did see a message from a friend back home that he was a little bit disappointed. He thought that the fitness levels of the fighters wasn't where it should be, considering it was heavyweight. But when you're going toe-to-toe and slugging, I wouldn't expect them to be sprightly from, and I think he was saying he was a bit disappointed from maybe round 4 they're starting to look a little bit sluggish, but when you're getting hit by somebody that throw, it's basically like being hit with a sledgehammer continuously, or trying to throw your sledgehammer, it's going to take
and I think they deliberately both came in a lot heavier than before for that purpose, so that's good. I did watch it, and I watched it on the rerun as well. It was a hell of a fight.
Yeah, and for entertainment value, it's got to be up there with one of the best heavyweight fights I've seen in a long, long time.
Unbelievable, and unlike Fury a bit, he was a bit reckless.
Yeah,
because we've always said, haven't we? And I'm not a boxing expert, but I like boxing. That of all the fighters, the heavyweights we're talking about, compared to him and Joshua or whatever, he's a proper boxer.
Yeah, he's the type of guy that doesn't tend to get tagged a lot.
Nah.
And in that round where he ended up going down twice, he was very, very open. And if anything, the bell's kind of saved at that point to get himself back together after being knocked down the second time, which I think a lot of people then were a little bit concerned that it was all going to go wrong.
I think for a round, the end of that round, the next round, I think he could have gone either way, but then he found another gear, again, so a bit more gas in the tank. And well, there was a one punch before that he knocked him out, but I don't even know how wide he stayed on his feet, because he kind of like, you know, one of those mannequins using football or whatever, like a Sabukia man, he kind of went and then got himself back up again, and then but the one that he knocked him out with, I mean, to be honest with you, when I saw it,
it looks like he's out on it as he gets hit.
I was a bit concerned for it.
Well, thankfully, he didn't go down like a chopped tree. He kind of did still land on.
But after the fight, when he was still in his thing, you don't often see him, but he was proper wincing with pain. So hell of a fight.
But you know, there's a bit of controversy around it. I don't know if you've heard about this. They were saying that the referee counted too quickly. Not too quickly. He didn't start the count on Fury until after like a good couple of seconds or so. So there has been a little bit of controversy. But like anything with Wilder, he doesn't like losing. And they accused Fury of cheating the first time around, and then there was videos of actually Fury's corner being in the room when they taped him up and put his gloves on, just to watch the full process. And he was like, "You were in here last time, but it's not our fault you weren't paying attention. You know, you should be watching. You know, you're distracted too easy." So they were all like having a laugh and a joke and digging him out a little bit. But the problem is now where happens now is because the next fight for Fury is Dillian White. Yeah. According to going through the next contender is. But I think Joshua's invoking.
Yeah, so that's spring. So I said to somebody at work, I said, how good would it be if he beats us in spring? Which I don't know. I didn't see much of that fight, but they reckon that's doubtful now. But if he could pull it out of the bag, beat him, Fury has to do the mandatory defence against White, and he'll beat Dillian White, no issue there, and set up like a Bonanza, Wembley or Old Trafford.
My biggest concern is that we're just running out of time for them.
Yeah, we said that, don't we? Like,
if Joshua loses again to Usyk, you know, I don't think that fight's going to happen. No. So I don't know if at some point the boss just have to say, you know what, let's do it.
But yeah, and I wonder just because they both actually said, to be fair to them, that they don't want it to be like an exhibition fight. They want to have belts on it, but the fact of the matter is, I think the British sporting public, the British boxing, need to see that fight before they get a bit too old. Because like we said before, they've only got another year, 18 months, 2 years max.
Yeah, 2 years max tops, and nobody wants to see them after 2 years because it's not the same fight. No, it's a bit like when Manny Pacquiao fought Mayweather, and it was just a little bit like Manny was well past his best. He was throwing punches, couldn't land them. Yeah, it was just a bit of that was just a big hype about nothing. But yeah, let's hope that gets on.
This time next year, Christmas at Wembley, full Wembley, Battle of Britain.
Let's get back for it.
Come on, get it on, or they're bringing it out to Dubai. Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, Saudi could be a shout.
He was.
Right, so let's go with fantasy football. There's
Yeah.
no winner from last week. We still have the winners to come and claim from the previous weeks. So I'll just give you a quick shout out while we get Larkin all prepped and ready for his show. Ian Crowther, Danny McShea, Colin Jones, Mike Morgan, you need to come and get your weekly prizes. And AJ, Mr. Brunch, you need to firstly turn up to football. That's the first part you need to do. And
Yes.
secondly, come and get your brunch voucher. Not that you need it. But let's go on. What's the big larks got to say to themselves?
See what he's got to say.
Oh, he's gone all shit. He's gone all quiet on us.
Jack, how are we doing?
Oh.
Sport Jibberish, old Larko back here with some of your best FPL tips coming up. A few bits of jam for you, so stay listening if you want to get the latest jam hot off the press. So a few weeks ago, I spoke about the boy down at Wolves, the lone wolf himself, big wang up front, netting himself 14 points the other day, bringing back that jam. Foolishly though, without my number 2 to consult, Big Mike. I foolishly left him on the bench, so did not reap the rewards. And sadly, Big Wang is no more. He's made way this week for the big boy Ron. Brought him in for a big 3. I've made a decision, lads, and you would have done the same thing. Getting your big 3 right is important. I've got rid of Fernandez. I don't think there's enough food for both him and Ronaldo to be at the same table. So I brought Lukaku in. Early doors as well. I made my subs early doors. Maybe a mistake, maybe not, but I think we've got to be decisive in this game. But he's in. I know that he's suffering from a very, very, very tight groin for the international weekend. And I'm wishing you well, Big Ron. I need you to bring back that jam for the Chelsea this season. Or in the upcoming game, I should say. So, next on my list is my next tip. It is the man himself, Andy's son, the king of tactics truck, Andros Townsend. Been great for him this season. He's having what we would call a late summer. He is absolutely bringing the jam back at the ripe old age of 33, let's say. I'm not sure how old he is, but he's having a great season, so he's one to bring in for a bit of value as well. Townsend, Lukaku, and then of course, I know he's not in my team, but you know, we're all fans of the big man, so he's someone to consider moving forward. And finally, one of my core principles every fantasy season is to never ever select any Arsenal players, and I've been burnt at the start of the season with that. However, I'm coming back to the man Smith Rowe himself. Good young prospect, very good value. Arsenal seem to have turned the corner like we all knew they would. Perhaps not. And yeah, I brought him in as well. So a couple of tips for you there. Andros Townsend, Fernandez, get him out if you've got any team. Don't need to be there. Big Wang, and any boy down at the Arsenal. So lads, until 2 weeks' time, I bid you adieu, bid you farewell, and as forever, staying humble, staying on the game, keeping my fingers in all the pies. Old Larko, over and out.
He's saying he's keeping his finger in the pies, but we've actually just checked that Townsend is only 13.
I knew that was coming out. You could tell he didn't know what age he was.
It was almost like he was searching it on the internet and he was saying it. But end of the day, Jack.
What do we know?